right, Nikoli Forbes, you're a master of all trades, Krav Maga instructor, ACE certified, somatic and breath work, right? So I want to debunk some of the myths that I see online. I want to start with intermittent fasting, but if you can just give us a brief introduction about yourself before I start bombarding you with questions.
All right. So but more or less, it's well, as you said, I'm a Krav Maga instructor. I've been doing that since 20. Well, I've been training in martial arts more or less my whole life since I was about 14 years old. Um, but I moved on to Krav as a trainee, and then I had the opportunity to become an instructor in 2016, so I took it. So I've been teaching for 12 years? No, sorry, 8 years. Right, pretty long time. I also decided to go full time with personal training. I decided to go with the ACE recently. I had another credential before, but I really liked what ACE had to offer, so I went for that as well. And I also teach breathwork, so to get all the relaxation down. A lot of us don't breathe properly, so it's to teach us how to breathe again. The sedentary lifestyle has us stuck like this, and we can't engage diaphragm enough to get proper breath in. And well, for those who have postural deficiencies and need it corrected, the clinical somatics exercises can help with that.
Now, there's a difference from the somatics we see online compared to the somatics that you do, correct?
Yes, correct. So the somatics you see online, it's a trauma release thing. I'm not fully um, familiar with it, but what I do is more physiological thing is to deal with for example, we who has the hunched shoulders, how to get them to consciously release the muscles back to their proper position so they don't get any chronic pain.
Okay. Um, so the first question I have for you is, well, it comes from a personal question, but I know about like 7 people right now that are doing the intermittent fasting. And I know we've spoken off camera about this before. So I wanted you to give us a little insight about the intermittent fasting and I mean, should we be doing it? Should we not be doing it? Because mainstream media seems to be telling us that yes, like I mean, it's all over. Every social platform is telling us intermittent fasting, 18 hours, 24 hours, 36.
Right. Now, disclaimer before I speak about this, I'm not a registered dietitian, nor
Right.
have any formal training in nutrition, but here's how it goes, right? There's nothing wrong with intermittent fasting, but is there anything special about intermittent fasting or any other type of fasting? No, right? At the end of the day, for those trying to lose body fat or weight, as they say, but we really want to get rid of the body fat. All that's needed is a caloric deficit in any form or fashion. So whether it's a caloric deficit because I'm eating 300 calories less every day, or is it because I'm in a deficit because I didn't eat? I have less time to eat the amount of food in the day, so the other hours will restrict how much calories I can consume. It's all a net deficit at the end of the day, right? What the intermittent fasting could accomplish is that, as I said just now, you have less hours to eat, right? So there's less opportunity for you to go into a surplus calorie level. Um, However, a drawback to that could be, for example, are you getting enough of the adequate macro and micronutrients, particularly if you're exercising? Because it's one thing to exercise, because it's one thing to just fast, but to fast and exercise, if we're in a state where we're not getting what the body needs to recover from exercise, then we setting ourselves up for injury. We won't see the growth in the lean tissue, the muscle, if it is you're not getting enough protein. So the window, especially if you have some really restrictive windows, um, the deficit might end up being too much. Then you have to ask the question, is it sustainable, right? how long can you eat in a, let's say what you do, 16-8, like a 16-8, right? And only 8 hours, or some people do even less. And maybe it's something you could do, especially if you're lifting heavy. It's something you shouldn't do every day. Maybe you should do it 2 or 3 times a week and then eat normally. So it can be dangerous. Now,
But
if you're excessive, Mhm.
when you say you can do it like fasting, I mean, is it the 20 and 4 or 16-8? You know,
Yeah.
what would you, you know?
They I mean, they all, it really depends, right? If you're a pretty sedentary person, I think a 24 will work. Or if you're doing a 24 for 2 to 3 days, just so detox or cleanse or whatever the case is, maybe reset the metabolism for those who have metabolic issues, because they do have some pretty solid stuff stating that the fasting could reset the mitochondria, reset the immune system. It could kick in autophagy. However, a simple caloric deficit can also do the same thing. So if I'm eating 300 calories less than I'm supposed to for a prolonged period of time, I'm still going to get the same effect. So again, there's nothing remarkable about it. I mean, I would recommend the consistent small deficits daily because it's manageable, right? Most people can't do a 24, for example, or 18-6 or whatever it is, for 3 months, right? And either way you swing it, and we could probably touch on this later on too. It took you or anyone else anyone in general who, let's say, you have somebody who weighs 300 pounds, right? They didn't get to 300 pounds in 2 months. So there's nothing you can do to, or at least there's nothing sensible you can do to lose 100 of that 300 pounds in a very short space of time. So consistency is always key. Also note that these excessive deficits also raise cortisol levels, that's a stress hormone, which it is an antagonistic hormone to muscle growth. Right? It's not as a catabolic hormone. And again, too much cortisol for too long, again, we're talking injuries. Yeah.
Okay. What are the common issues that clients come with? Like that you see that are like common, things like, because I know for me in the past, I've gone to a personal trainer. I'm like, yeah, I just want to be small, like make me a size 2 like next week. Right. But like, what are the common like issues you see clients coming to you with? Is it like bodily injuries or is it, like wanting to lose weight too fast?
Yeah, so it would be the latter. Everybody wants to be small, and they want to be small next week, right? And
Yeah,
as I said,
me.
which comes back to the same thing. You're not gonna be 300 pounds, 400 pounds, and be 150 next week or next month or next year, right? I mean, sustainably, you're probably looking at 2 pounds a week. That's 8 pounds a month. 8,096, probably 100 pounds a year, right? Um, so there's that. We also have to note that not all mass is bad mass, right? As I said before, the issue is the excess body fat, right? We want to make sure we don't just get too myopic about size, right? Because size is also muscle. And you would find also that some people who tend to more easily put on weight, they tend to have higher set point of muscle mass. And by set point, I mean, for example, everybody is different genetically. You might be born with the natural capacity without doing anything and anything extra, lifting, doing resistance training, to hold, let's say, 150 pounds of lean mass. Whereas I might have the natural capacity to hold 120 pounds of lean mass. And obviously, And by lean mass, I mean muscle, bones, organs. If you start at 150, you're always going to be heavier than me because that's your genetic predisposition, right? It also means you could actually put on more net muscle than me because most people put on, well, speaking for men, it's a little bit for men, on average about 30 pounds of lean tissue throughout their entire life. It might take about 10 years to do that, right? So which means if from your set point, which would be like, which was what, 150, you could be 180 pounds of lean mass, whereas I will be 120 plus 30, 150 pounds of lean mass, right? So yeah, so the idea is at the end of the day to focus on that because the muscle tissue has many benefits, right? It's structural, you move better, you feel better, your posture would be better by having more lean tissue. A lot of people focus on just doing a lot of cardio. Not wrong cardio, most important muscle is the heart, you must do your cardio. But that can't be the only focus because when you only focus on putting the body in a state of catabolism, and you're already in a caloric deficit or fasting or whatever the hell it is you're doing, you're not going to actually start to lose lean tissue as well. Right. And as you get older, particularly, and if you're female, it's even more important because correlation between lifting weights, muscle tissue, bone density. Right. How many times have you heard of an old person who fell down and broke a hip? They fell down because one, muscle atrophy, you lose muscle as you get older. And when they fell, they broke the hip because two, they won't put any bones under any positive stress to get strong and it won't broke, right? So while yes, losing weight is good or getting really fat is good, you can't lose sight of the other aspects or components of being overall healthy or functional in general. Yeah, because a lot of people, yeah, they just go, and then they overdo it as well. And then they hit this wall because, I mean, how many days you're going to run 5 miles a week, and then they don't program the cardio properly. They just go, raise the stress levels, and then
So
5 weeks
from,
later,
go ahead.
yeah, 5 weeks later, they can't continue with their exercise and they go back to square one. They start eating as normal. They say they take a break. They say they'll go back next week turn to next year, and there we go.
So with the clients that maybe you've come across or people you've come across wanting fitness advice and so forth, what is one of the common problems besides wanting to lose weight too fast? Is there something that you're seeing that's very common among people? Is it, that we don't have like posture or our muscle mass is like really low, like our physical level needs improving? Is there something common that you keep seeing over repetitively with people coming in?
Yeah, usually it's a combination of posture
Right.
as well as, well, most people lack in civilized society lack muscle mass, right?
Okay.
If I would say if you're not in a gym doing progressive overload day by day, week by week, most likely you're lacking muscle mass if you're over the age
Can you
of
explain what
50.
progressive overload is, please?
So progressive overload means you make the exercise more difficult over time, be it by adding more weights or more repetitions. Right. So let's say I was doing barbell squats at 300 pounds for 10 reps. Next week I can do it for 12. That was a progression. When I get let's say I get the 12, I say, okay, I don't want to go for those 12 reps. Now I add 5 pounds. Now it's 320 and I go back down to the 10. So, so that would be a double progression actually. But without getting too technical on that, yeah, so yeah, most people under muscled because most of us sit holding. And even if we get up and we walk and we take a 5 minute break, that's still not going to do much for your muscle mass. So just add a little more to the caloric, burn, so to speak, but it's still not enough. The posture is also an issue again, combined with that, because again, we always like this every day. And what's going to happen is that's going to put the body is a very efficient system. You do this all the time, and the body is going to be like, okay, you want to be like this. I'm going to put wire the nerves in such a way that I'm always going to put some tension in this area. And then you're going to start to either get body pain on its own, or you may find that you come to do certain exercises like the bench press, for example, and you have shoulder issues because the back muscles are too weak, right? They know how to engage the scapula, or the muscles around the scapula.
So
And
that, mhm.
no, go ahead.
No, I said, so that would lead me to the importance of weightlifting. That is there one more important than the other, the cardio and the weightlifting, or is it both equally important?
Both equally important
Okay.
because in
No,
the
because
hard
I
stuff,
asked because there's a lot of people who are saying, oh, ditch the cardio and just lift weights, you know?
no, cardio is, you see, you have to understand, how was it put it? People out there that they promote a certain lifestyle that suits them, right? Now, can I lose fat without doing cardio? Of course, right? Eat less food. It's that simple, right? So what happens to is as you put on muscle, your basic metabolic rate increases. Your basic metabolic rate is responsible for about 70% of your daily caloric expenditure. So again, if I have 150 pounds of lean mass and you have 120, and both of us sit down for 24 hours doing nothing but fidget, move around, the person with the higher lean mass is going to burn more just by having more lean tissue. So yeah, so if I put on some muscle, I would be burning more calories. Combine that with some deficit, I'll get lean with the muscle mass. Well, deficit in moderation, because I said when you're in a deficit, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be in a deficit and put on muscle unless you're really, really obese. Right? Like you have a lot of fat that the body could use. But if you're like anything under 20% body fat for a man, a woman should not, and that's another thing. Women have this, they want to get too lean. Unless they want endocrine problems, they should not dip under 20%. Again, unless they're naturally like that. Some people, everybody has like a different set point. So some women would be maybe hit 15% body fat and they'll be fine. You'll see their period as normal. They could get pregnant if they want to. But on average, once they start to hit that 20 area, they start to miss the period, they start to feel tired. For men, it's lower. We below 8%, again, depending on the individual, you'll start to see these problems. But yes, so you can't lose the fat without the cardio, but again, you can't ignore the heart. Yeah. And again, cardio, there's a contribution to cardio towards the muscle mass because it builds your overall work capacity. If I have a stronger heart, I can do more, right? I mean, can I take if you take less rest periods between your sets, it would, help the heart go, but you still need a cardio.
So
150
what,
minutes a week.
say that again, sorry?
Yeah, so you still need a cardio, 150 minutes of moderate intensity cardio per week.
Per week. So you don't recommend like cardio like every single day, then do weights. That's like leading yourself to burnout.
Yeah, I mean, you can break up your cardio. I mean, let's say you were to jump rope for 30 minutes, well, that might be a lot for jumping rope, but 15 minutes, 7 days a week. You would get in a lot of cardio with that, right? 30 minutes might be a lot for like a beginner. Yeah, remember beginners could start very small. If somebody who's really badly off could, go as little as 5 minutes a day and then work their way up. But and then of course once you start reach to the point where you could do fitness training, you could add intervals, right? You could combine some of your steady state cardio, which would be the moderate. So steady state cardio meaning you could have a conversation while you're doing it. And then when you add intervals, if you combine the two, I can't remember the figures often. Um, I think you can combine it up to about 75 minutes, depending on how intense you go. But at the end of the day, the bread and butter of your cardio should be moderate, steady state cardio. Again, not to stress the body too much. Right? Even athletes, the rage now is high intensity, this, that, the other, and everybody running around and doing all sorts of things, which is fine. I do it too, but once a week.
Okay,
Right?
so I have two questions. With one, women who are aging, like approaching 40 or in their 40s, I am seeing a lot that are saying that weightlifting is very, very, very important for us women in our 40s. That's true, right? That we should
Yeah.
be lifting, like we all should be lifting weights, especially women.
Yes. And again, it comes back to the whole osteoporosis thing in
Right.
particular. And again, the maintaining the muscle mass and so they can maintain their balance, they can hold themselves up and as well as have a more durable structure overall. Because the rate of muscle loss is greater for the female than the male.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we're on the cardio topic too, so circuit training versus weightlifting, like what's the difference?
Right. So the thing about circuit training is that it's good for muscular endurance, right? Because let's say in the circuit I have let's say it's a Tabata circuit or something like that.
It's
Tabata,
a
right?
what, sorry?
Tabata. Tabata,
Uh-huh.
right? And let's say so Tabata is like you have 4 exercises. Or it could be the same exercise for 4 hours, but of course, to make it interesting, let's say 4 exercises. We have a work period, let's say 45 seconds, and a rest period of, let's say, 20 seconds. So I do that 4 times, and then I take a rest. Now, that rest could be, for example, like an active rest, especially if the person is very fit. So it could be, let's say, I was doing push-ups, as many as I could. 45 seconds, boom, 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 cranking out push-ups. And then for the 20 seconds, I do something else. Let's say I jump rope slowly for 20, then boom. And then the interval goes off again. I do lunges, boom, 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 right? So the thing is, notice what I'm doing. I'm trying to crank out as many reps as I could in a short space of time with very small rest intervals, some of which will be active. And I am, so again, so let's ask ourselves the question, how feasible is it for me to progress that, right? Let's say it was weighted lunges and one of them, right? And I have a pair of dumbbells in the hand, and I'm lunging. How far could I reasonably progress weighted lunges as fast as possible with the rest? The answer is not much, right? Because what am I going to do? 100 pounds in each hand at high speed? No, I'm going to get injured, right? Something's going to give. So again, I'm going to have to stick with light weights relatively for the individual. The rest interval is very low. 20 seconds is not much rest. So again, you're training muscular endurance, which is fine. Would somebody who's never done anything in their life get some muscle growth from this? Yes, because they've never done anything before. Would they get hypertrophy happen over time? No, there's going to be a plateau point. Again, to get the hypertrophy, I probably want to progress my learning step bar because I can hold comfortably 80 pounds in each hand or something like that. But I could put 200 pounds in a bar and you'll learn with it and more. So again, which one is going to give the best stimulus to the muscle? Right? Which one can I progress more? Again, a barbell has, again, well, a good barbell that won't break, has enough space to hold over 1,000 pounds, right? most of us, if not, okay, 99.999% of us are not going to lift 1,000 pounds in any exercise. Let's say Eddie Hall or Thor, one of those guys. But so again, the barbell particularly gives you the opportunity to progressively overload to infinity. Suppose, well, for most people, yeah. So, and that is what's going to give you the muscle gain, the strength gain. Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody wants to start off a beginner, kind of like myself, who wants to start off with weightlifting, what's the best advice can you give them? What's the first step?
The first step for a beginner, I would say, is to consult an exercise professional.
To get a
Personal.
personal trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for those people who've been in exercise all their life or have always been enthusiastic about it, well, it'll be easy for them to learn and understand how to progress exercises, how to go from one phase of cardio to the other over time. But for somebody who doesn't know anything, I've met people who, you're training them as clients. They like the exercise, they like exercising with you, but they're exercising for over a year, and it's like, which one is the RDL again? Because no, it's not their thing, right? So
And I guess too, when you because with weights, the alignment is so important. Your form is really important. So you can really be more prone to injury doing this on your own if you're not, because you're on shore.
yeah, because especially when it comes to free weights, right? The machines in the gym are kind of foolproof. Then again, I've seen some stuff on social media that, um, yeah, but just the way the machines say, so to use it. So if you have a diagram with a man saying I'm on the machine and doing this, that's the only way to use the machine. Make sure you adjust it and select the way to have a pit, put it in 10 pounds and you're moving nice. But yeah, some people do some strange things with some machines. But yeah, it's easy with those, but yeah, free weights, you can damage yourself badly with it.
Okay,
Yeah.
so get a personal trainer is what you're telling us.
Yeah, get a personal trainer.
Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to ask was the scale. Like, I know when it comes to your fitness and weight loss, like how important is it for us to be weighing ourselves? Personally, I hate the scale. I put that bitch in a closet and I haven't took her out.
Yeah, so again, the scale gives again it just gives you a reading of mass, right? How much pounds you weigh. But it doesn't tell you well, there are scales that tell you how much is, they have the fancy bioelectrical impedance to stand up on it and tell you 12% body fat or whatever it is. You have an idea, okay. Right. But for the beginner, particularly again, those who are very obese, even if it is they use those scales, it's going to be off. Right. And those scales have an athlete mode, right? To test the body fat, but they don't have an obese mode, like a super obese mode, right? So what that happens is because athletes have way more lean mass than normal, if they put it on the normal setting, it will be skewed, right? They won't give a proper reading. But then they have a mode for normal people, but I don't think they cater much for those who really, really overweight. So it's still going to be off anyway. But for those who are going through the fitness journey, so to speak, um, let's say you started off at 200 pounds and you want to get down to 150, right? Now, if you're doing a combination of cardio and some resistance training, what's going to happen is you're going to be putting on muscle, right? And muscle is a denser tissue than fat tissue. So if 5 pounds of fat looks like this, 5 pounds of muscle might look like that, right? So it's more mass in a smaller area of smaller volume, I should say, because you're three-dimensional. And you're going to be smaller, but it might weigh more. So you now start exercising, I say at 200, in the first month, couple of weeks, it might go to 190 because you're going to lose a lot of water weight to start with, all right? And then from the 190, let's say it might go to 185, all right? But when you reach 185, because you now really lose a little 5 pounds of fat. But from the 185, now you still climb up to 187, and then you have a panic attack. You probably just gain some muscle, right? So the most important thing is to, see how the clothes fit in, if the pants more loose. Because again, because the muscle is more compact, that's where you're going to see the biggest differences. And then the scales and the BMI are going to be deceptive too. I mean, yes, the average person, the BMI will tell you you're obese. Well, it might be. But me now, I'm also obese according to the BMI because I'm 195 at 6'1". And yeah, I should be seeking the medical professionals about now. So yeah, so
So what about women who are afraid to start lifting weights because they think they're going to get too bulky?
they don't have the hormone profile for that.
Okay.
So quick endocrinology thing here. So testosterone is important for building muscle. Yes. Women don't have as much of that. Now, it doesn't mean women can't build too much muscle. Unfortunately, there isn't much research on women, but from what I've read, I've seen that growth hormone plays a more crucial role in building muscle for women than men. And here's the thing. So remember, we spoke about starting points based on genetics. The main difference between the male and the female in terms of muscle building is how much muscle we start with, right? So men start with a little more. And then again, that same 30 pounds, let's say that we can add in about 10 years. So I say if I start with 150, I can reach 180, right? Whereas female of a similar gene pool, she might have started at 130 instead of the 150, right? So it'll be a little less. I believe you'll also put on a little less than us, whereas you might put on an average 30 or might put on an average like 20 pounds or so, right? And then there are certain body parts that women can build almost as well as men, like the legs, the lower body, right? Because it's all to do with androgen receptors. The androgen receptors, the lower body stay more or less the same. They respond the same. But the real difference making between the male and the female is this: the shoulders and the traps and the neck, right? Because in the past, sexual selection was with men who could fight. And these are the muscles that define who control a better punch, who could take a better hit without getting knocked out. So these muscles have a lot more androgen receptors that could actually multiply over time. Actually, if you take anabolic steroids and inject it in a man and he doesn't exercise, these would be the first muscles just respond and get big. Yeah. So yeah, and I have clients, they will get little arms, the legs will get up, but I have some of them, their entire shoulder is my anterior deltoid. Even though, so which is why you would see the woman, when it comes to overhead pressing, it's really challenging. So no, you're not going to look masculine. You don't have the hormones for it. Yeah? Plus, you'll carry more body fat than us. So when you put on mass, you'll have a little fat going on it too because, for the cushion.
Okay.
Yeah?
So and what about like, some people might say, okay, I want to lose my tummy. I want to get smaller hair at my waist or something. When you start lifting weights, can you do that, like particularly like target something and say, okay, I'm gonna lose this or tone this? Because
That would.
I've heard about, you know, being fat being deposited somewhere else, like you don't really pick and choose.
Yeah, so where you store fat is all based on your genetics. So some people have a more android shape, meaning they store fat around the center. Some people have a more gynoid shape, meaning the fat goes in the hips and the thighs. Um, Again, that's all on your genetics. So that's a
So what
discussion
about
between you and God.
so what about the because like I'll see on social media like, oh, you can, like, you know, do these exercises to, you know, build gains and, like, you know, get a better booty, you know, have it more perky. I mean, do these exercises work? Can they work for everyone?
It depends on the exercise. So, um, and again, what are we talking about again? We're talking about building muscle, right?
Right.
So building muscle and fat loss is two different things. So if I do now, again, the best exercises to building muscle in the booty or the legs or whatever is get a barbell or a leg extension machine or anything that you could put a lot of heavy weight on and do a lot of volume with, particularly if you want to build muscle, you want high volume. And volume meaning cumulative sets and reps, right? So I will build more muscle with 4 sets of 10 as opposed to 2 sets of 10, right? So you need to get that going. And again, it's simple exercise that does this. The exercise where you have a resistance band with one foot on the wall and the next one up in the air to do God alone knows what. Yeah, I've seen all sorts of weird things on social media. And
Like, I'm trying
yeah,
to visualize what you just said and I can't. Sorry.
again, I'm just being a bit drastic about it, right? But I've seen one. Um, what was the chick doing? She had one foot on the wall, like heel on the wall, and the other leg on the ground, and she was doing RDLs. And it's a good stability exercise, but what you're gonna do RDLs with what? Okay, 5 pounds, 10 pounds. After you get to 30 pounds, you're more concerned about, okay, can I still hold these weights in my hand? Am I stable anymore? You know, get a barbell, load 245s on it, you have 135 pounds. And you start with that, or some people will be less, and you add 5 pounds ever so often until you reach to 235 pounds. And I guarantee you, if you take your RDLs from 135 to 235, you're gonna get a bigger butt, right? Again, once you're eating enough food for it. In terms of it, and with the fat loss aspect, it's caloric deficit at the end of the day. It's always caloric deficit for the fat loss. Now, here's the thing. Again, once you, as I said, once you're within normal body fat ranges, you're not going to be able to build muscle and necessarily lose fat as you would like at the same time. Which is why you kind of see people, they go in these kind of bulk and cut phases. So you want a bigger butt, they go. Once again, once you're with a normal weight, and I'm going to advise a 300-pound person to go on bulk, right? But
What's the
uh,
difference?
with
Bulk and cut.
right, so bulk is actually added mass, right?
Hmm.
So if I want, again, the woman who wants a bigger butt, let's say she's 130 pounds, she wants a bigger butt, she's going to have to do, again, progressive overload on the respective muscles. So deadlifts, RDLs, glute kickbacks, whatever the case is. And she's going to have to eat food because the muscles are going to come out of thin air, right? So it'll happen after that. Let's say she goes up to how much is that? She was 130. Let's say she puts on about 30 more pounds, she goes to 160. She would find she may have a little more rules here, whatever the case is. So she'd probably want to get rid of that. So she may want to spend a couple of weeks or months eating a little less, still exercising in the gym, upping in protein a little bit so she could retain her lean mass. And not an aggressive deficit. We're talking about maybe 300 calories at most, probably not as big as 500. Because if the deficit is too large, she's going to lose the muscle she put on, right? So it has to be again. So the bulk also has to be slow and sustainable. The same way the cut has to be slow and sustainable. Because if I go now and I put on 30 pounds in a month, most of that 30 pounds are going to be fat. So when I cut now, I mean, I've only put on about 3 pounds of muscle after only, gaining all that weight, which doesn't really make any sense. So again, the same way the bulk has to be 200, 300 calories surplus. When you want to cut a little extra fat, 200, 300 calories surplus. So nothing drastic. It's never drastic. Yeah.
Is there anything I've left out that I should be asking you for the viewers?
I don't think so. I mean, if you have
Okay.
anything else to ask, feel free.
No, I don't think so. I think that is pretty much it. So I wanted to ask you, before you go, 3 books that you can recommend to us once we're starting off in our fitness journey, or any books that have helped you along the way.
Um, most of the books that have helped me along the way, in terms of where I am now, I mean, those books would be kind of technical, like really delving into exercise science. I mean, in terms of the practical aspect of weight training, um, there's none I've actually ever read for that. I mean, aside from actually doing my PT courses and whatever the case is. Which again will be, probably a bit much. But there's a juggernaut system which I'm a fan of, and which is a powerlifting thing. But again, it's more specific to powerlifting. So I read Juggernaut 2.0, Juggernaut Program Design Manual. I mean, there's scientific principles of hypertrophy. I mean, yeah, I mean, aside from what you'll depend on from your personal trainer for programming, I mean, the best advice is get your 150 minutes of cardio in terms of knowledge base, and then do your resistance training every week, 3 sets of 12. Once you can get your 3 sets of 12 comfortably, add some more weight.
How many days per week did you say we're supposed to be doing resistance training?
2 to 3.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 to 3. And again, depending on time, how much time you have, whatever. I mean, not everybody has to become Mr. or Mrs. Olympia or whatever it is, Just, I mean, you could even go to maintenance. Not everybody has to be like me, chasing a new PR and a deadlift or some crap, right? Maintain healthy stuff. I mean, in terms of breathwork, there's this one, which is good for the mindset, breath, maybe authors James Nestor, New Science of a Lost Art. I'm a David Goggins fan. I have his books. Those are good again. Mindset, very important. Everything starts up here. The decision to commit, do something to get in. David Goggins himself came from like this place where he was, super huge, and then went and became a SEAL, and the rest is history. Now he's running around, telling everybody stay hard, good shit. So yeah, if you want, I could send you some titles from my library. I mean,
Yeah, sure. And I'll pin them to the description below.
yeah,
Right. Well, thank you for joining us.
yeah, no problem.
All right. Hold on, right?